Hey, welcome back everyone to the first community marketing meeting of the year. There's a lot going on in the world, so we'll withhold the Happy New Year's too much, but it's good to see you. And yeah, we're cruising into it. I'll be very honest and say I had a bunch of stuff I was going to do before this that I have not done because there's some bigger things going on in the United States at the moment. But yeah, just want to take some time to check in. I did get a couple notes in earlier this week and want to see how everyone else is doing. Anyone else want to introduce themselves or say hi or just catch up? Kind of did a little before recording.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Glad
This is
to
the
be
highlight
back.
of my day, to be honest with you.
Good. And Rajula, can you hear us okay?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound very far
Very
away,
faint.
but
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Sorry, I got stuck with some other meeting. I got delayed.
You're fine. I'm just glad you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to a fresh Friday. Okay, well, we haven't been up to too much so far since we were on break, so there's probably not too many wins to cover. But got one kind of thought to get out there for discussion. It's like a follow up to the Kubernetes ContribEx meetings on Wednesday, and some work that Chris and I were kind of messing around with on the side. Any other items that we should add to the agenda? Please add them as you think of them, and we'll go through it linearly. But to start from the top, want to start listing out like the campaigns that we're working on, like what sort of stories are we trying to get out there over and over again, and we can kind of pick it up each week and say like, hey, is there anything new we should do with this? It could be as simple as nothing, or we send a tweet, or maybe someone's feeling inspired and they write an update article. But there's some sort of recurring items as we think about this, and ultimately we should time box them so much like they'll have a beginning, middle, and the end. But for now, I think we just have these recurring items that are not quite GitHub issues because they're so long living and non-specific, and they're also not something we don't want to write down because we'll forget them. So thinking about that as an in-between. Any comments or responses on that idea?
I like the idea of campaigns a lot.
Sounds good. I mean, gels nicely with the marketing front as well. So
cool. Great. And with that in mind, one campaign I wanted to kick the year off with that I thought would be a nice, smooth way to ride into a fresh year that will be totally different than the year before. But we'll just get through the overall idea first of sharing our contributor stories. We all have a unique way in which we like to contribute, and we feel like we're contributors to Kubernetes and to other open source communities we care about. And we wanted to get these down on digital paper, with the idea that other people will see themselves in that and feel like they can also be contributors in that same way. And since, none of us are full-time coding in the project, which I think is, at least so far, at least partially documented, these non-code contributions and other ways we show up for the community are pretty unique, and I think would be quite inspiring for people. So I brought it up in the ContribEx meeting on Wednesday, and Bob is very interested in us publishing these first-person narratives to the Kates.io, or excuse me, Kates.dev contributor site. So we can publish there, and him and I will work out a sort of, a link back strategy so it gets some SEO from the .io site as well. But the short of it being, like, let's share our individual stories in, a few to many paragraphs. And you might ask for an example. So thankfully, Chris already started working on one that's really awesome.
Let me make sure it's open to everybody real quick.
Yeah. And I was going to have it edited and finalized by today, and that will not be the case.
I know better than that.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then
Actually,
I've got
I
a part.
can't share it outside of Red Hat, so I'll make a copy of it and put it in my personal one real quick.
Yeah, and I've got a personal one in the works that's kind of like explaining how I structure my week so I have time to contribute to Kubernetes, which is another sort of common challenge people bring up, that they don't know how to fit it into their schedule. So I don't know, just what does that make either of you feel or think? And do you think, if you were to write a story from your angle, what do you think that angle would be?
I mean, sounds interesting, right? I have been on the both parts. I have been a code contributor in initial days, and right now I'm a non-code contributor. So yeah, I think I could write down few paragraphs at least. I mean, unless there is anything specific we are looking at. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just shared a link to mine to give folks an
Oh.
idea.
Do you mind if I link in the Google Doc?
Yeah, let me drop it in there too. Shoot,
Okay.
I got too many docs open. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. No, this is awesome. Thanks, Chris.
No problem. There we go.
And I'll also throw it out there. Chris writes a lot, just as an expertise. So do not feel like yours has to be as long.
It doesn't have to be as long as crisp. I will happily edit and highlight maybe additional changes or whatever in anybody's work if you ask me, right? Like if you want me to be your editor, I'm happy to do it.
But yeah, taking a moment to poke through this, you'll see it's it's not supposed to be like some profound, here's exactly what you should do in order to be effective. None of us have to have the right answer. We just, by sharing our own experiences, it definitely invites people to feel more comfortable with what experience they can bring. And if they end up, my default call to action will be to tell people to show up to ContribEx, because I think that is kind of the front door of our whole community. And I want to encourage people to feel like they're welcome there. And then we kind of sort them from there. But if you have another call to action, like based on your story, rock that out. Like I see contributor marketing and mentoring sessions mentioned in Chris's, which I think are both solid.
Yeah, and I took a broader scope, since this was probably going to be the first series, one in the series, right? Like we have all these different things as kind of like I'm reading this article and, now I know where I can go to get help to get started kind of deal.
Totally.
Yeah. So if you do that every article, that we might want to turn that into boilerplate, right? Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like this idea. It kind of emphasizes non-code contributions in general to any open source software, any open source project.
And Rajula, you've got like both sides of the story, right? Like that's pretty cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice to tell people that just coming to the meetings, giving their feedback is also something which really helps.
Yeah. Just show up to the meetings is what I tell people usually. And then they'll get everything else going for you.
An early mantra I had, like when I learned to be a community manager, people always ask, like, well, how do you get to be quote unquote influential in a community? That's like the dream, right? Everyone wants to show up and be a little internet famous in that space, at least in the marketing space. And the mantra is like, first you have to show up. So if you want to be an overnight success, like show up every week for 6 months, and then overnight you'll be successful.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened to me.
Yeah.
True story.
So, true story. Yeah, and I think it resonates, and it's really, it's that long-term investment. So that's a fun angle too. Like even if you didn't want to talk about code or non-code, Rajula, if you talked about like how I show up while while a lot's going on in your life, you can talk about
Right.
moving across the world and still being a contributor.
You could just tell your story, like from how you got started to where you are now. Like that's a great one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we gonna do this like a blog on Kate's Dev?
Yes, exactly. So Kate's Dev was trying to scope that with Bob, and right now there's no blog posts on it, so it's pretty it's ripe for some sort of focus. And I'm pitching that the sole focus of that blog should be like first person narrative, kind of playful at times, just stories of actual contributors contributing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be technical or non-technical or non-code. It's just people sharing stories. I feel like the .io site has a lot more visibility, has a lot more structure behind it. Like maybe we can lighten the structure and invite a different range of people, have a slightly different vibe.
And there's nothing. Sorry,
What's
go ahead,
that, Rajula?
Rajula.
Oh no, I'm just asking. Is more or less creating a pull request for the different repo like we do for the main blog, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think that will be. We'll ultimately be using the same sort of Hugo style, cram down or whatever you call it at the top, and then markdown.
Front matter.
Front matter.
Yeah, that's the official term.
Where the hell did I get the term cram down?
Maybe cram down is a different version of markdown, I wonder. And that's like, there's different ways you can do front matter in Hugo. I wonder if that's an alternative.
Cram down is a fast, pure Ruby markdown superset converter.
There you go.
I must have used that in the Jekyll space. And I forgot that they were different. Cool. Computers. We find weird names for it. Yeah, so no one's done a pull request there. We will literally be the first, but we've been green-lighted to give it a try. So Chris was interested, so he's kind of kicking it off. I'm planning to get mine out when the existential dread calms down.
I wrote mine before the existential dread. Like, you really inspired me, to be honest with you, Matt. So
that's kind. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. But yeah, no pressure. But everyone here and everyone that watches this after is more than welcome to do so. And I'm totally with Chris that I'm a well-practiced copy editor at this point, and happy to guide you through it, or just kind of fill in the blanks, and we'll get it out there.
I would even go so far, like if it was a member of this group, or somebody that really needed some help, just like English not your native language kind of thing, right? Like I would even go so far as I could potentially ghostwrite it for you, right? Like if you give me a few bullet points, I'll happily write something, and you can then put your name on it, right? Like if you can't, for whatever reason, write it out, put down 5 bullet points, and I'll hand you an article kind of deal.
Neat.
That's not a carte blanche offer. That's like a very niche offer. I want to make that very clear. I don't have infinite time for ghostwriting.
That's going on YouTube, so.
Right. Yeah. No, I need to put that out there, right?
That's very, very kind of you to offer, and totally, that makes sense. But yeah, so get a first draft out there if you feel it. Share it with this group, and we'll take it from there.
Which repo does the site live under, or which directory?
Great question. I'm pretty sure it's still under Kubernetes SIG /contributor site.
Is it?
That was the last I checked.
It's funny. Yeah.
I've been working from the premise that we'll get a draft and we'll get it over to Bob to check out, and then we'll worry about how we get it into the right repo from there.
Well, yeah, there's that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. So next sort of campaigny type thing, Bob and the team, why am I blinking? Oh, it was George. Yeah. Bob and George asked us to they have PR'd an update to the /services page. And services has some really useful information about how we work, the details of getting set up on each of the communication platforms, also how the Netlify site works, and actually how we support funding for contributors to meet in events or through consulting services, etc. And basically asked if we could, over the next many weeks, just send a tweet or two out about this page over and over again, keep hitting the drum, getting the word out. So grab any kind of chunk of this and send it as a tweet, and we'll do the same thing at this meeting each week for a few weeks, and then we'll call ourselves, say that we're done with it.
I'm looking at the page. Should
Yeah.
be pretty easy to do. I wish Caslin was here.
Yeah, well, I'll message her after to coordinate, but I feel like Chris, you and I both have access, and we all have access through the bot.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just give people a heads up if you're sending stuff out so that we can coordinate. But I'm not currently going to take this on.
No,
I think we'll just leave it out there for now and get to it when we get to it. And the last sort of campaign-y type idea that was on my mind on Tuesday was that another way to get another thing we need to get the word out about is us continue on the success of last year of being in the right place and talking to the right people. And also one of the ways in which, even though not a lot of people showed up to this session, I definitely realized how much more we were known after having a talk accepted at KubeCon. Like that maintainer track talk, Rajula, Kazan, and I worked our butts off on it. Not a lot of people watched it live, but man, a ton of people have been interested since. So that's a telling win for us that it's got that long tail of awareness. So I think it's worth submitting to the next one that's coming up. With the submission is due February 7th. And I just wanted to let you know that that is an intention. Coordinating with George and Bob, because technically as a subgroup, we don't get another chance to speak for the 1 SIG per talk at KubeCon. So Bob and George were going to ask to see if we could maybe still submit. And if we do, let's assume that we do get a chance to. Is anyone interested in kind of rehashing the talk that we gave and giving it fresh, or any new people want to be involved? Very open to rotating that.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to do that. If we get the green light to.
Yeah, great.
I'll always raise my hand, but I will always caveat that with I'm already out there a lot, so I don't need necessarily the additional exposure. So totally. I would much rather others volunteer before my name was chosen.
Great. Good deal. All right. Well, Piyush, I'll keep in touch with you, man. I asked Bob to reach out to CNCF leadership on that, and we've got about a month, and we can reuse a lot of the work that Rajula, Kazan, and I already did, and just kind of rehash it for whoever's speaking. So cool. And just to be make sure to get everyone. Rajula, would you be interested in speaking again? Would you prefer not to?
I can help, but I don't want to be in the front line.
Okay. Cool.
Is this for the EU one or the
Yes,
EU, right?
the EU one.
That'd be nice if it was not virtual.
Yeah, if it was not virtual, it'd be ideal. Like you live there now. So soon, my friend. I know, just like a quick sidebar, just the conversations of like, hey, what would a meetup in LA look like for the US one? I'm just like, oh, the idea of meeting in person at an event. It sounds very far away and really cool.
It's the far away part that I think is going to be the variable there.
That's too far.
Yes,
Like
that'd be
that's like
great.
10
But
months.
yeah,
10 months. You don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but the way new strains are coming, right? You never know what's going to happen in 10 months.
I know, right? And
I
for those that
hope-
aren't aware, right, like Red Hat Summit is turning into 3 parts, where the third part is actually going to be like small localized events, assuming everything continues on its current track with vaccinations and everything. And it's like, wow, I'm in Detroit. That really sets me up for a lot of Midwest cities that I'm going to drive to potentially this fall.
I would drive out to Detroit to see it. That'd be sweet.
Well, I'll probably be in Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, if wherever they decide to do one of these things. I'm sure my name will come up. So if it's in the Midwest.
Nice.
So that'll be my first journey out into the wild, as it were.
Yeah, baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Projects in progress. Nothing's happened with that board that needs to get a facelift. I think shifting more towards like the inline text for campaigns that we've got going on, but just let's I want us to open issues when we're committing to complete something, right? Like we have a lot of ideas, but I just, my impression so far is that there are a lot of issues for like umbrella ideas of articles that could last 5 years before we get through all of it, which is almost as old as the project. So I'm just thinking like, let's be specific, and maybe when we get to the point of a commitment, like, hey, I'm gonna write this thing, if it helps you to track it as a GitHub issue, let's do that. But otherwise, keeping it in the stock seems like a path of least resistance and maybe less crud for the release team.
Nice 2021 attitude.
What was that?
I was telling it's a good attitude for 2021 as well. Not high expectations, just do it.
Yeah, well said. Cool.
Brilliant.
All right, moving on into bots in progress. Again, I haven't scoped anything new here for sure, but does anyone have anything in mind that they want to accomplish with our vision for multi-channel communication being coordinated through tools?
There is one thing that we need to do. I mean, there's a lot of ideas all over the place. So firstly, we all need to put it somewhere. So I'm going to start do that this week, probably in an issue or somewhere. And then probably we can market it to get more contributors to do that.
Mm-hmm. And when you're organizing it, like, do you imagine it's going to be an issue that lives in Kubernetes community, or is it going to be organized into like a board across multiple repos? Yeah.
It's still not very clear.
That's fair.
Maybe because we are a sub project, maybe we can have a repo where we can put all the documentation. Would that help?
That would help.
About so the thing with this is like you feel like we're in a state of the project management of it or program management of it where it's like got to define what our goal is and then work backwards from it. So like if we say we just want to improve quote unquote the Twitter bot, like that's easy. We would open issues in that Twitter repo. But if we're saying like we want to create a multi-channel omnichannel tool that like we've got to start scoping. Like the first issue I'd want to do is like define the persona, and the next issue would be to, do a, low fidelity, or excuse me, a low fidelity sort of mock-up of what that looks like. But yeah, so I'm trying not to put my total program manager hat on, but I'm also happy to talk through that. So yeah, Rujula, I think I love the idea of you continuing to think on how you want to organize it and what that vision is. I'm happy to provide some feedback along the way if you're interested.
For now, can we do it in the same ContribEx repo like we did for the initial discussions?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think we should make any new channels until we have a vision, a very clear why and a how.
Yeah, once something goes into implementation, then the bot itself can have a new repo like the tweets repo. So
totally.
we can do something with that, yeah.
And I just threw an image into the Google Doc. Like, this is from the presentation at KubeCon, and like, this is my, this is my dream of all the individual pieces that are somehow connected together. And yeah, scoping it as one big thing looks like a total nightmare, though. All right, unless people want to get into more meaty conversations there, which sounds like we're not quite ready for that, why don't we move right along? Calendar walk, anything of significance coming in the next week or so that we should get scheduled?
Surprisingly, the marketing team meetings weren't actually scheduled for 2021. So Bob actually updated it yesterday.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Is that, I wonder if that's a glitch in calendaring. Because I noticed that too with a lot of recurring events just suddenly stopped when the year rolled over. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, probably scheduled them until end of year by default, and then the end of the year got here.
Yeah. But like, I'm talking like Google Calendar, right? Like, I didn't put an end date on it. It just decided to stop. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, thinking more from the, are there KDev messages we want to send out about anything? Looks mostly like the normal stuff. Is there a
plan for this shadow application today? So I sent out a tweet. Probably you can
great.
do another before the end of the day in the US time zone.
Excellent.
And I also signed up, hopefully, to just get more understanding from communications perspective.
Okay. Save release agenda closed for new items. Okay. Great.
And I guess we would have tweets for community meeting. I mean, do we need to schedule them, or I don't know? I mean, that's like once a month kind of a thing, and seems important.
Yeah. We haven't, I think we are at a point where we don't send a tweet out for every new, or for every meeting for every community.
Right.
So I don't want us to be special in that way. I think the best sort of channel for us to shout out would be on the morning of, to let, or evening of your time, to message in SIG ContribEx saying, hey, we're meeting at X, join here. Which I've done now and again, but again, very, it's on my to-do list, but I didn't get to it today. Does that make sense, Piyush?
Yeah, totally does.
All right. Great. And anyone want to, or anyone have any issues they want to bring up across the across the repos. There's plenty to poke at, but not going to walk through it unless we want to dive into stuff. Oh, hey, I guess I should ask Chris, while you're here, I'm going to chat this your way. There's a pull request for event checklist. I offered a suggestion in there. If you want to take a fresh glance at that. Yeah. Maybe we can close that out and feel good about it.
Just commit suggestion. Yeah, I can do that. They make that easy. That's good.
Oh yeah, I love the suggestion feature. It's so nice.
Yeah. Okay, so accepted, and the bots are doing their thing. So it's still, is it still on hold? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, do not merge, hold.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if that all tests out right, just do your thing.
Cool, man. For those not following along, or like felt like forever ago, but Chris wanted us to get a checklist started so that in the case of events, we have like a basic marketing template. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, we need to add more to it, but it at least is getting the ball rolling, because I knew we were all going to forget after the holidays and such.
No.
Yeah.
Just another quick question.
Yes.
I see that there's a message in the group and the Slack and the Google group asking for new hosts. Should we do some tweets about it?
Oh yeah, that's actually
George. Yeah, I think George has been doing some tweets. We could probably just copy pasta that, but this is, we're looking for new people, right? Like net new or newer people to the community kind of deal that haven't. Like George's intent is like, we don't want the people that have hosted hundreds of these, right? Like we want new faces.
Also, do we have more followers than last couple of months now?
I don't know. We'll see.
We were at like 2,600 last I checked. We're at 2,900 now. Nice. It's going up.
That's a good tick.
Yeah. I think my favorite part is that some very influential people look at that and then they retweet it. So it's, for them, it's an easier way to see what the big thing is that's happening.
I should probably set up some bot just to automatically retweet all of these.
Can somebody remind me how to remove a hold? I thought it was hold/hold remove, but that is not the syntax.
What are the prow commands? I got those saved somewhere. Hang on.
What's the full commands accepted? Nah. I'll go talk to prow myself.
Hold cancel or something, I guess.
Hold cancel.
Hold cancel, yeah.
Or
hold space
unhold.
cancel or unhold. Unhold would make total sense.
I said /hold remove.
What are you doing thinking of like
commands.
Unixy type things in this wonderfully Linux-based community?
Yeah. Hold /hold cancel. There we go. Do not merge. Removed.
Beautiful.
Kablamo.
See, look, non-code contribution.
Oy vey. I mean, great, good, happy. Anything else on people's minds to review or want to discuss with this crew? All right. Well, with that, I'm going to close out the meeting. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here.